its owners and/or associates.
Lisa and Robin are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robin on the mic.
Welcome back to another episode of Lisa and Robin on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can always watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live. Plus, we are up on YouTube and Spotify. And Jim was just making some charade-type movements about when we say we're always hearing cute clothes. We're wearing the bikini. He's not wearing a bikini.
I'm not wearing a bikini. Not even underneath this. I don't have a bikini.
Thank goodness.
Not even bikini briefs. I mean, take my word for it.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. So we were talking about Fuego, which is your new restaurant. We talked a little bit about aliens. I wanted to ask you, in all of your... Because I trust your opinion. I value your opinion. I respect your opinion.
Sucker.
Ready? Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Explain to me why I should be in love with AI. Because I'm so unimpressed.
I don't know if being in love is the right term for it. Okay. I think...
Enamored.
Well, here's the thing. AI is that next thing in technology. I mean, we've seen several revolutions in technology take hold, especially over the past 50 or 100 years. Mm-hmm. The advent of computer technology, wireless telecommunications, satellites, all this stuff theoretically has made our lives better. I mean, that's a debate, but if you don't take advantage of technology, you're going to get left behind. And AI is that next thing. The people who don't embrace AI, the people who don't leverage AI to the maximum extent that they possibly can, they're just not going to be competitive in the world moving forward, and they're going to get left behind. So if you either embrace it or you are, basically guaranteeing that you're not going to be competitive moving forward.
Yeah, you're going to become obsolete. Just like... no one says, because I joke that it's like, oh, I don't like this. And it's like, oh, that's like saying, no, I don't like the phone. Even though we use so many people use the phone less because they're using texting or other technologies.
It's funny because if you look at this strip of storefronts here, there's a picture, a photograph from the 40s of the same storefront. The buildings are the same. It's amazing. You're right down to the crowns of the roof. But the fourth unit down there was a Western Union. And as we know, Western Union, that was a telegraph company that you would send telegrams, or sometimes, later on they adopted and they started wiring money. But before then, that was it. They sent telegrams. Right. You sent messages that people sent over the terrestrial lines through Morse code that somebody would receive, 1,000 miles away.
Yeah. And that was amazing at the time.
That was the cutting edge of technology. You could send a message right away to somebody by somebody tapping Morse code on a little, device.
In Nashua, they could talk to someone in Germany. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Well,
so this is what I'm having. I'm the real estate person. I'm the buildings the same person. Right? Okay. I understand. So there's the part of me that's so rooted in my, for lack of better terms, in like my business. And I'm now, obviously I've adopted all the technology I need to adopt it, but I don't really understand the next promise. So one of the things that I have a problem with, and if you listen to the show, I'm saying it ad nauseum, but all of these promises are just the end user having to do more work.
Maybe.
So
that's one way of looking at it.
Well, I look at it that way because I have a torn meniscus. Well, I can't just call my doctor anymore and say, do a referral. I have to log into my chart. I have to upload my information. I have to go to the thing. I'm being the insurance company, and I'm also being the doctor's office. But I also have an impedance, which is not, I'm not, and then I have to wait for somebody else to click a button, but I've done all the work. And I could say that across everything from, travel agents. I got to book my own tickets. I've got to book my own flight. The end user is just doing more. And I say this as okay. I'm gonna give you a real life example of something that happened to me recently over the past several months. I was having an issue with one of my internet accounts. I don't need to name the company, but I'll just tell you, I was having a heck of a time trying to get a tech to come out and do something to make my service work. I was stuck in a corporate do loop. And I was stuck in that corporate do loop until that company did one thing. They flicked a switch, and one day I called, and for weeks I couldn't get something resolved. The next day I called, and miraculously I got a solution. And the difference was, and I recognized it because I know what to listen for, they switched their call center to an AI call center. Really?
I was not talking to human beings. It seemed like I was. They were pretending like I was, but they were not. So
when you weren't solving it, was it AI, or was it solved as AI?
AI solved it.
AI solved it. Interesting.
When I was talking to people, most of them overseas, because of their thick accents, nothing was getting done. It was the runaround. This department had to pass me to that department, to this department, to that department. I was getting the runaround, and nothing was getting done.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they flicked the switch and the AI did all the front end stuff, by the time I got to a person, there was a solution set that was already in place. And guess what? Within a day, my internet service issue was solved.
Interesting.
So that's a real life personal experience for me. I don't know if you picked up on this. This is probably not the bright, shining example of use of AI that you were expecting. But this was the first time that the United States military openly used integrated EI in any operations that the military was involved in combat. Mm-hmm. The Iran operations currently going on, especially the initial strikes. And regardless of what's happening now or what happens in the future, you have to admit it was quite impressive, the effectiveness of those initial military operations. Mm-hmm. And that was very heavily AI driven.
But then other countries have that same technology, and it could be used against us.
Of course they do.
Right.
And it will. That's why we better start using it, because, if we're not using it, somebody else will.
Yeah. But I do feel like, this is a perfect example. I have a client. So if you need rentals in Nashua, I have several clients who have a number of vacancies. So if you are looking for rentals, 1, 2, I even think there's some 3 bedrooms in Nashua, you can call me at Realtyscape at 603-897-9309. I can hook you up with the owners of these buildings. We are seeing some rent reductions. We are seeing...
I don't like to hear that. I don't want to hear about rent reductions.
Well, to be honest, it was okay because it was more... People were paying more on a 2-bedroom than some of us were paying in mortgages of houses.
Isn't that always the way it is?
Not always.
That's the way it was in the 80s and 90s when I was talking about how things were going back then. Right,
and you were talking about how we didn't want to see that again.
Well, there's a balance there.
There is.
So, you don't want rents to be way out of whack with the average cost of owning a home. But there needs to be some level of there's a connection there between those two. When they're in balance, it does what it's supposed to do. The building owners, the people who are renting properties, they can make their money, but then also people who are renting properties who decide they want to purchase homes can make that jump. when the two of those get out of whack, then it creates some issues.
And I also think that you want the building owner to make enough money to be able to do repairs to the building so you're not living in a slum, right? So there's a perfect balance of that. But when I think 3 years in a row, New Hampshire Business Magazine said that it took more than 46% of people's income just for rent. And then they started saying, and healthcare has taken this percent, and when they added up all the percents,
it's like over 100%.
It's over 100%. So that math doesn't work.
Well, it does. It's called a credit card.
And then that math doesn't work.
Well, eventually that math, you run out of runway.
You run out of runway.
If you don't have upside potential on your revenue stream, your income, you have a problem eventually.
Yes. And then you talk about AI taking millions of jobs. And then you're like, okay, well, where is that? But back to my question about how make me love AI in the regards of, and I'm going to talk about it in my business. So I brought up the fact that we have some vacancies. Oh, I don't do property management anymore, so these aren't part of my companies, but they're my clients. I've sold these buildings. And I have great clients who do renovations and have really lovely buildings. They're great landlords. So again, if you have a need to move in the next month, let me know. But the reason why I bring this up is because a lot of the companies who were driving down the cost, and I'm using the cost in quotey fingers, so that I was no longer competitive cost-wise, said that they could do that because they were using technology. But now, 2 years later, they have huge vacancy problems, and they have huge this problems, and so I don't think the technology fixed anything.
Well, here's a funny thing, because as you know, and I'm going to go back to the most recent business experience I have. As you know, in my restaurant, there are 4 principal owners, right? Mm-hmm. Some of them are younger than me, quite a bit younger. Mm-hmm. And they have fully embraced AI. And I can tell you, through my own personal observations, there are a lot of things and ideas that they brought forward utilizing AI that was less than optimal. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those, I went in with old-fashioned knowledge and wisdom and experience and said, no, we're not doing this, and this is why.
This is my exact point. One of the things that these companies used that I didn't use was lockbox showings. Someone stands at the door, does a QR code, inputs a driver's license, all of their information to get into the door. They walk themselves around, they leave, and they apply for an apartment, right? What I do, or what I did when I did this job, was I met you there. We had a conversation. I showed you around. I heard your commentary. You either applied for the apartment or didn't. I used to bring paper copies of the application. Even though we did have it online, a lot of people liked paper copies. Because they could do it right then. Because I said, I'm not going to take your money for the application. I can look at the application. And as long as I'm not going to find anything different when I go to double check you, I can tell you, give me the money, most likely, unless something comes up that you're not telling me. We're probably going to be able to move forward, but I can immediately do the math and say you're not going to qualify financially and not take their money, right? So as a business owner who was very hands-on, I felt like that was the most responsible way to interact with people, because I would hear people say, I don't want to pay you $50 for an application if I've spent $300 on applications and I never hear back from anyone. So that was something that was happening. So, but I also could hear objections of what people were saying in the apartment, and I could correct them if their objection was wrong, or I could give them an alternative to their objection, or I could offer them another solution in another apartment that might be 4 buildings down, or have a different parking scenario or something. So I was the human intervention to move this along. I have one client who they've been using this keyless, humanless, touchless system, and they've had a vacancy for 119 days. And the feedback in the apartment is always fine. So I'm like, well, where's the disconnect? I'm saying it's the technology. Start having people go there.
To switch it back to my previous experience here recently, what I found, and you got to remember, AI is still learning.
Yes, but it's learning from the internet.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, basically, it's because it can only see what it can see in the computing world, but it's learning, and I don't think it's quite learned or matured enough. Because what I think the best application of AI is that it may give you ideas, or it may prompt your thinking, or push you in a direction of something that maybe you didn't think of, because it could see more than you can.
Yes.
And maybe it's more dynamic that way, but it's not creative. And it doesn't have all the experience that an experienced, seasoned professional human being would have. And what would happen is when these younger individuals would bring forth these ideas, the AI would say, oh, well, this is what you should do. Oh, that's good, but there's some nuances here that you need to think about. And remember we were talking about the chess versus checkers?
Yes.
That's the piece that I think it really falls down on right now. It doesn't do that 10 steps ahead. Like, okay, that may be optimal for right now, here, today, but how does this impact me next month or next year? Or, what are the long-term consequences of making those types of decisions? I don't think it has a handle on that yet. And that's where having an experienced person getting all the information from AI, processing it, deciding what's junk, what's not, what you want to pursue, what makes the most sense, that's the most powerful. You still need experienced people. You still need people with the knowledge and the wisdom
to interpret the data,
to understand what they're looking at, and be able to filter. It's just like when the internet first came out. There's a lot of information coming out of it. Some of it was junk, some of it was good. You needed someone who could filter that and say, yeah, that's true, that's not, this is hogwash. We see that with young people even today. They see information coming in, and it's like, if they just think everything's the gospel that comes out of their cell phone, they're in trouble, because a lot of trash. But you need that filter to be able to say, yeah, that's good, that's not so good, I don't believe that, that's not credible. AI is not going to be your solution set to replace an experienced human brain. It's just not going to be that.
And I think it's really interesting because, again, I think so much of technology has promised that we're going to fix something, and we do fix some things, but then this is my number one example. Anyone who's a software engineer, please do something about this. Why am I typing in my city, my state, and my zip code? Computers were supposed to make things easier. Back in the day, you would type in your zip code and it would automatically populate your city and state because there is only one answer on a zip code. I
find most applications do that now.
No.
You must be working with the wrong applications, because
almost every application I use.
Everything I put in the zip code, all that stuff comes in. And most things now, they want a verified address, so they're not even relying on you. So
yeah, because it says, I think it's this address.
Yeah.
And you have to verify. So that piece of it, yes. But my point is that we've relied on the technology so much, we lost the part that it makes our lives quicker or easier.
No,
the 19-step verification to get onto anything is annoying now.
Yeah, security is a problem. But I think there's two things going on. One, I do think we have a faster-paced society. We are doing more now because technology 100%. Has been a force multiplier to allow the average human being to be more productive. But I think society has adjusted for that, and now the expectation is that you will do more.
Yes.
So you haven't gained anything other than more productivity for something else.
Right, out of one individual that used to be divvied up across X many individuals. Because even just, think of the car, right? The car is a dangerous vehicle. You can kill someone with a car today by accident, right? Now you add that we're all supposed to be constantly doing something on our phone we don't have human beings in the office answering. Well, your office does. But there are some offices, like there's no more call answering.
That's because my office is 100 years old.
And good for you. Good for you keeping that up. But my point is,
we're going to talk about something about that when you're done with that.
Okay.
You talk about somebody being in the office. Yeah, you're right. Most people don't have admin staff in their office anymore.
Financially, you can't afford it when you afford all this technology that was supposed to replace them. So you can't have both.
AI has a solution for that. And
what's
we'll talk about that later. They have They have AI systems, technology systems that you can purchase for your business that they will basically do, at least from an outside world interface standpoint, all the functions that an admin person used to do in your office. They'll take the phone calls, they'll take messages, they'll categorize all the messages, determine what's important, what's not. They'll transcribe messages and organize them so that they'll give you a list of things that you need to go back and look at and address. And there's no human being there. So people will pick up the phone, they think they're talking to somebody, and it's an AI-generated person that they're talking to.
Okay, so you see the best function for AI is more administrative tasks or cleaning.
No, I think there's a wide, vast amount of varied applications that AI can assist with. But there's a limitation right now the way AI exists. It can only do well-defined, simple tasks. It can. I know they talk about AI like it could do all this complex stuff. It can attempt to, but I still think you need that gatekeeper to kind of look over AI's shoulder right now and say, yeah, that's not going to be good.
Right. So, for example, they have AI, everything is algorithmic, right, behind the scenes. So, the information is, like you said, the internet has junk. So before, we were limited by how much information we had, the access to information. But the information was also gate kept, right? Now, no gatekeeper, all access, too much information, a lot of misinformation. So does that really better our position to have the wrong information quickly?
That's a good question.
I'm like trying to stump Jim Lawrence on the show.
That's an interesting question.
And I'll bring up a very specific example.
And I would say that from an AI perspective, that's a TBD because we haven't seen the full ability, the full power of AI unleashed yet. I mean, we're at its infancy right now, and none of us really knows where it's going. I mean, that could be a little scary in a lot of ways. I've seen some studies where people are, looking at AI like, well, at what point in time does this become like the Terminator and the AI computers come out and say, well, the problem is human beings. Let's exterminate them.
Well, they talk about it's being used for mental health to be there's not enough therapists to help all the mental health problems that there are. And so they're using like AI therapists, but depending on how you phrase your question depends on the answer that you get. And I used this as an example because I tested it myself. I said, is giving your significant other the silent treatment a good relationship strategy?
Not to me, it wouldn't be.
Okay. So the answer is amongst traditional therapists is no. The lack of communication, stonewalling, or any of that stuff is terrible for communication. It's terrible for relationships long term, right? But if you ask the question, should I give my partner the silent treatment when I'm mad? AI will tell you, yes, give yourself some time to think, step apart, whatever. It gives you a positive answer, which is, if you're not sure what to do, giving you the answer you want to hear, but that might not necessarily be the right answer. But if you ask the question to AI, is giving the my partner's giving me the silent treatment, is this the best way to handle this? Or you do the opposite question, which is more of a negative bias and gives you the negative answer. So AI will give you different answers depending on the way you ask your question.
Yep.
So if you don't have good questions, I feel life in general, just take computers out of it altogether. I think the quality of your life depends on the quality of your questions. The better questions you can ask, the better your life will be.
Unless you're a lawyer.
Yeah. Again, pull them out of it. They might as well be AI at this point, right? Well, like, and they'll trip you up in a second, right? I'm talking about like just your general life, because everything, if you keep asking the wrong question, you're going to get the wrong answer. You need a different question. So simple as like, I don't make enough money. How do I make more money at my job? Well,
I know what AI is going to say.
What's
sell drugs and open a brothel. I mean,
those are the two most profitable things.
I mean, I know what the AI solution is, but no, I mean, and that's when the older, wiser person's got to come in and say, no, that's not a good idea, AI.
Yes.
That's not going to end well for you.
Yes. And there's no moral imperative in AI.
No.
And so the reason why I was asking the thing about the dissemination question specifically, and when people talk about AI as this amazing thing, I'm like, well, it's gathering information from us, but from where? From the internet. Because that's the information it has. It trolled out. Well, you have, for example, there was this website called Bigger Pockets, and it took off as like the thing for landlords, the thing for real estate investors. And I went on and I was like, wow, it does not distinguish that there are different laws for different states.
Really?
So people ask, hey, I have this problem, and someone from Colorado will tell you what to do that's specifically illegal in Massachusetts, because the Colorado person doesn't know your Massachusetts laws. So you're taking this amazing free advice from another investor in a state, literally getting you in legal hot water.
Yep.
And you don't even know it. I would go on and people would say, hey, I found lead in my apartment. What do I do? And there's 400 answers about how to get rid of lead in your apartment, which do not follow any law, at least in the state of New Hampshire.
You don't just stick a magnet in your pipe, pull it out.
Right. Right. So this is my point on how would AI answer a question when there are 50 answers for 50 states. And does it distinguish? I don't know. What state do you live in? It doesn't prompt you by asking you more questions. It doesn't learn more about you. It doesn't learn more about your scenario. So we've put, and the way it's marketed by the 5 people who stand to make all the money from it, the 5 companies or 3 companies, however many they are, they're only promising it as the golden cow, right? It's the golden calf of, it's everything it's supposed to be. But it doesn't talk about any of its side effects or problems. And that's kind of like when they started talking about the COVID vaccine. There's no problems. There's no side effects. There's no whatever. And it's like, well, now you're not telling me the truth.
Nothing wrong with me.
Yeah, I got people having heart problems.
I keep forgetting you got the camera up there. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't know what you're talking about.
But my point is, it's not a dialogue of back and forth where it's trying to learn and ascertain. Anytime I've ever answered a question just 100% directly without asking maybe another more clarifying question, I'm not necessarily giving the best answer.
That is true. And AI does not ask any secondary questions. It just starts blurting answers.
It gives you the dissertation about...
That reminds me of that annoying person, and we all have that person in our lives that doesn't listen a lot and talks a lot. And you say one thing, and then they're off to the races saying all kinds of stuff. And most of what they're saying is off base. Mm-hmm. And AI is going to be that person.
But we're selling it. So I was on YouTube and I was like trying to find something out about an AI piece because I was trying to use it for a specific thing. And I was like, how do I ask it better questions? Because I know I'm getting the wrong answer.
But isn't that defeating the purpose? If you have to ask questions so specifically that you're leading it to the right answer, you probably have the right answer already. So it's not really making it useful.
But when you put in the AI, 7 million posts come up about how you're not going to have a job in 2026. The world is going to end in 2027. AI is like...
I'm always going to have a job because if something shifts that bad, I'm going to invent something that'll create my job.
So, but my point is, there's so much fear.
I'm being an ant farmer. What are you laughing at? You don't think there's a future in ant farming? AI cannot cannot put ant farmers out of business. It's just not going to happen.
Well, it's so funny because I was talking to someone the other day about how industrious ants are and how they make their own farming colonies, and like we really shouldn't be just stomping on them, killing them. Like they're actually probably serving some function in the ecosystem we don't understand.
You ever seen a kid with a magnifying glass?
Yes, killing ants. Well, I was joking that one time ants had invaded my house and I tried everything to get rid of them, and a woman said, "Did you ask them to leave?"
Was that an AI person?
And I was like,
AI
no,
advice.
But I went home and spoke to the ant trail and just said, I don't want to kill you. If every time you come in the house, I'm going to work my best to kill you. But if you live outside my house, I'm going to let you live. Can you just please do this outside of the house? And I did not have an ant problem after that. I did intentionally.
Do you see the look on my face right now?
Did you see the look on my face?
Let me give you the proper expression for what I just heard. Lady, what are you talking about? What you told an ant colony to beat it? Did you play Michael Jackson and do the dance too?
I did not, but I through my energy try to explain that I was killing them because they were getting the house.
Can you take me seriously looking at me like this?
I cannot with your glasses upside down. I could not.
Well, I can't take you seriously what you just said. You told me you just told an ant colony to beat it.
And that they left. Well, and then I'm going to add one more thing. And then I cut all the plants 6 feet away from my house. So once I got them out, I also removed all the vegetation. So it was a twofold thing. However, it was better than all of the alternatives I had tried, which were online alternatives.
I would have just blew cigar smoke on them. They would have left.
Is that what they don't like cigar smoke?
Well, nicotine is.
I don't like cigar smoke.
Well, then you would have left too. Nicotine is a natural insecticide. It was the tobacco leaf built up a natural defense
immunity
against insects eating it, and that's what it was. That's why you remember the old ant spray, Black Flag?
Yes.
It was called Black Flag 40. It was 40% nicotine.
I did not know that.
See, there's your chemistry lesson for the day.
I love it.
But
I'm actually going to use that now. I'm like thinking of how I can use that information now. But so all this goes back to saying the more they push it as the solution to everything, the more I know they're lying, and it's really maybe not the solution to anything, is what I think. It is not the answer. It is not solving. I don't know what we still have the same problems we always have, and now we just have the new problems of trying to figure out how to make AI better. Well, so they were saying one of the before they thought, and this was the video I watched last night. By 2027, all artists will be out of work because they thought there'll be no creation through AI, but AI is going to be creating everything. It's going to be creating all of our television shows. It's going to be creating all our content. Over 40% of the content you're going to see in the next year is only going to be AI generated.
Yeah, that's the scary piece to me, like videos and stuff. They just take somebody's likeness, and if they have enough samples of their voice, they can make whole movies with them without them even being there. Right.
Think of serial killers. So this is when Jim Lawrence realizes I'm on the Lisa and Robin on the Mike show because we're going off the rails.
All right. I'm going along for the ride. I already had the ant conversation.
So serial killers used to have to stalk their victim from place to place. Now they just find you online. They can create you with AI and stalk you just in the house. Save themselves from going out.
What? Wait a minute. You're going to tell me...
I'm being so wise and so fresh. Yeah.
So you're basically saying that an AI serial killer...
No, what I'm saying is serial killers can use AI to give them... to give them more of you, because you know how they like to do their... Like Ted Bundy used to do all that stalking, and a lot of serial killers have that very methodical... part of the excitement is all of the hunt. The hunt.
To learn about the victim.
Yes,
and case them and figure out what their habits are and how they live. And
yes, now AI will do it for them.
Will it really? I
don't know.
AI couldn't figure out what I do.
Well, I've always been the person never take the same road home at the same time twice. You know, I used to run, and I ran from my house, but I used to go different directions, and I used to vary the time a little bit just because that used to make me feel better. You know, because you do the Megan's Law and you check how many sexual predators live in a 5-mile radius of where I
lot.
run. And the number is staggering.
A lot. But then again, you have to categorize what a sex offender
Yes. Did they just pee in the corner by the school because it was
Yeah.
11:30 and the
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts was closed?
Did
Is one
they-
kind.
Was it an 18-year-old that was with his 17-year-old
Yes.
girlfriend, and they're now married? I mean, they're all in that
Yes.
same web.
Yes.
That's kind of a little bit of a problem. I'd like to get a little blurb on what they actually did. That would make me feel a lot more better.
So I was in an office setting, and a woman had a picture of a guy up. And I thought she was on a dating website. So as I walk by, I see this guy, and I go, hey, don't date him. And she goes, what? I go, don't date him. She goes, no, he just came up as a sex predator who moved into my neighborhood. I got the alert on because she joined something that tells her. And I go, oh, okay. Because even just on the looks alone, I could tell you stay far away from him.
Well, I don't know what's worse, your comment or the fact that she has that alert. I mean, I understand conceptually why you might want to do that, but are we really that fearful that we have to have like an alert where somebody pops a picture?
Once you have the ability to have the information, don't you want as much information as you can have?
Some I'll leave alone.
You know, some people who have small kids think like, you know, they find out a sex offender lives in their neighborhood, and now they're like, I need to know so I can inform my kid. That's why they don't even let kids out anymore. But yeah, I remember there was a movie too where, there was a movie.
They let us out. They taught us how to kick shins and run.
Well, and we were, even the non-city of us 50 years ago is 100% city to the kids today.
Yeah.
You know, city people, like I joke, I've only ever asked for directions once. I was asked for directions. They said they couldn't hear me. I moved over to the car, screamed like a lunatic, never offered directions again. You know, because that's a city thing, right? You have you interact with enough people, you have enough crazies that you realize there's crazy people and you need to interact with them less and less and less. When you don't have a lot of experience interacting with people, you're too naive to understand what the human person is. That's why you have to read history. You have to see what we're capable of to know what we're capable of in the future, you know, because of what we're capable of in the past. When you look at Iran, when people say, oh, that'll never happen. Okay, I bet all the women in bikinis who were doctors had no idea they'd be
wearing burqas today.
Wearing burqas, not out of the house. So don't say nothing. If it happened once, you know, it'll happen again. It could happen again. You're fighting against that. So, yeah, I have this cool program that's supposed to be AI based, that's supposed to help with the creative process. So part of the creative process is you do something. Wonderful. Well, now you have to edit it. You have to do all of these other things behind the scenes, which are less fun and very time consuming. To edit 1 hour of our show to put into reels or to break up or to do anything with after takes 5 hours to do anything with 1 hour. So AI is supposed to be able to fix that. But if you don't ask it and prompt it the proper way, you don't get the right results.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
There is one application that I find that AI is very, very adept at. One that I use frequently for Fuego. And that is for developing ad campaigns for events.
Okay.
It's very useful in that area. What used to take, you know, someone hours and hours of time to generate, you know, and probably a pretty skilled graphic artist at that, you know, because you basically had the artwork, you had whatever the campaign was going to be, the verbiage you were going to use, so all that stuff had to be pulled together. Usually it was a team that was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can use an AI app and somebody sitting in the back room can do that in like 30 minutes now.
Oh, that's awesome.
So there are some applications that are very, very powerful that you can utilize AI for. I mean, it really...
And that's what I was, and I know in real estate they want to use it a lot. Like I keep getting the ads on my phone that, you know, property management's just going to be AI now. And I think, well, I've used AI. For example, I used to wear the Stello continuous glucose monitor. And every once in a while, because you would replace it every 2 weeks, it just wouldn't connect to the app on the phone. So you go online and you chat with an AI bot, and it says, tell me what your problem is. You say it won't connect to the app. It says, give me the serial number. You give it the serial number by taking a picture, and it says, okay, we are sending out a new one at no cost to you. Look for it in the mail in 2 to 3 days. And that would happen. And I'm like, isn't that a perfect use? It's done in 5 minutes. I don't have to interact with anybody, and my problem is solved. I think that's very a perfect use for it, where it streamlined, it's efficient, and it worked several times because I was using that monitor for about a year. I think probably maybe like 3 times that happened. And perfect use of, that's a great looking ad. Jim is showing me some ads on his phone that AI generated. Very nice looking.
Yeah, I mean,
was that SpongeBob?
No, that's a frothy bear walking down.
Oh, perfect. I don't have my glasses, and when you rolled quickly, I'm like, is SpongeBob?
I mean, look at that. I mean, it's just like,
yeah, no, that's awesome.
It's incredible, and you could do this stuff very quickly. It's not like it used to be.
Oh yeah, like me with the Canva app trying to make a marketing ad. Whew, that was a long time.
But you know what? It moves so quickly. You have to put these things up almost every day. You don't have the time to do that.
Right. That's the other thing. Content generation, you have to constantly be making new content. We have businesses to run. Like you would have an advertising team. So I can see the use of it in that regard. I just was, you're a dad. You have 8 kids. They're all out in the world making their way as the next generation. What's some good advice for them? Should they be frightened of AI? Should they be frightened of the Terminator? Because we grew up, well, we grew up frightened of the technology at some point.
You're talking to someone who is probably more anti-fear than probably the average person. And I really do believe that the number one impediment to most people making progress is fear. I mean, to me, that's the F word. Other people use something else for the F word. To me, that's the big F word. Fear is not a motivator towards greatness for anything. Right. Never has been. It's probably the most useful tool in any entity's arsenal to stop somebody from moving forward. It doesn't matter whether it's a despotic government like Iran, somebody who doesn't wish for you to be successful, someone who wants to be abusive. I mean, that's the go-to. They use fear for a reason, because it works.
It's a good manipulator.
So my thing is always that, okay, fear is a natural instinct. It's designed to protect you, and let it do just that, protect you. But don't let it paralyze you. You can't be afraid of moving forward. You have to conquer fear. You can acknowledge that it's there, but you always have to keep moving forward. And AI is just another thing. You shouldn't be afraid of it. You need to embrace it. You need to acknowledge where it's dangerous and keep moving forward. What did FDR tell us in the beginning of World War II?
The only thing to fear
is fear itself.
Is fear itself.
That's right.
No, stands.
Do not be afraid.
Do not be afraid. That's one of the most. Isn't that the most repeated phrase in the Bible? Fear not.
That and love.
And love.
I prefer talking about love than fear not. But
yeah. Well, I think that's probably why when I was younger, the Bible, I wasn't that into the Bible. First of all, it's like a riddle. You have to learn another language. Then you have to try to translate what they're saying. And but I have been rereading it recently, and I was looking up something because I'm like, I need a translation of this. And that was one of the things it said the most. They said all ancient texts say the same 5 things. We are not separate. Love was the second one. I can't remember. Fear not was one, and I can't remember what the other 2 are. But that across all ancient text, across all these civilizations that had no way of connecting with each other, they all had the same underlying message, which is fascinating for how we could come all up with the same thing across thousands and thousands of years, and that language is the impediment to us understanding it because it's, what's the word I want to use?
All right, let me see. Let me tap into my
Yes,
ESP.
it begins with an E.
I
Ethereal?
don't know where you're going with this one. I'm interested, though.
So, you know how you can't put words into feelings sometimes?
Yeah. So part of
our problem for us really basically completely understanding and knowing what we need to know on a spiritual level, like everything is connected. We are all one.
Okay.
Right? But the impediment to that is the language to try to explain it.
And
the feeling of
language, the language can't do it justice.
Correct.
You either know it or you don't.
Correct. Like I was reading, I think it's Paul Mitchell. He went up into space and he was practicing all these telepathy things. And when he came back and he saw our little planet, he came back and became like a spiritual seeker. He like literally no longer became an astronaut. And the community thought he was insane, but he was basically, how do I let everyone know we are one? I know we are all one. But it goes all back to, again, all the spiritual texts. They may say it in a slightly different way with slightly different actors as the heads of their group, but they're all saying the same exact thing.
Except for the Ayatollah Khomeini, right?
Right. But he's not ancient text.
He was using ancient text to justify his actions.
Right. Little bits and pieces.
Well, I don't know if you could say little bits and pieces. He had a big chunk.
Well, I think the Bible could be misused. How many wars were started under the religious pretext? You know, so you can use anything for or against something. And I think the same thing. Crusades. Think of the Christians going around everywhere.
The Crusades.
The Crusades. That wasn't very fun.
Yeah, and half of the colonization of the undiscovered world was done under the guise of religious pretext, which,
right.
How do you justify that?
Oh, you can't. And that's why for a long time I had my problem with religion, because I'm like, well, religion can be used for bad just as well as it could be used for good.
Well, you have to remember, religion is contrived of man.
Mm-hmm.
Spirituality is something else.
Yes.
So, as long as, we talked about this, the history tells you what people are capable of. Well, whenever you get people involved in things,
mm-hmm.
you never quite know what you're going to get. All bets are off.
And I wonder if that's the people, just like Oppenheimer created the bomb, right? He figured that out and he said, I don't know if I'm doing this for peace or for war, right? The intention was so we would have peace ever thereafter, but it has been used as a threat ever since to destroy us, right? It could be it could be our savior because it stopped World War II. Did
it stop World War II?
Well, it put a big foothold into it.
I would argue, from a historical standpoint, that World War II would have ended exactly along the same timeline, whether we dropped those 2 atomic bombs on Japan or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh,
they were
2 minutes left. I want to hear this.
We could continue it on. But yeah, if you look, basically, we didn't use atomic weapons in the European front, and that ended.
Mm-hmm.
And the forces in Japan were just as decimated as the Germans were at that time. And the Russians were coming for Japan the same way that the Americans were coming for them, just like the Allied nations in Europe were coming from Germany from one side and the Russians from the other. So it was over.
Mm.
Now, was that a definitive moment? Yes. Did it did it basically crown the United States as the preeminent power at the end of World War II with a strong symbol of that? Absolutely. Did it create an interesting multipolar power structure for the world thereafter? Yes.
Yeah.
And we just went to war with Iran over that same issue.
Yes. Ooh.
It's a good way to end.
Perfect way to end. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, always fun. You were listening to Lisa and Robin on the mic on WSMN. You are listening on 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live. We are always up on YouTube and Spotify. Please follow us everywhere you follow your people, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We love the subscribers, and that helps us out a lot. Thank you, and have a great week. Until next week, go to Fuego. Have a good time. What is it?
368 Central Avenue, Dover.
Happy St. Paddy's Day. Talk to you later.
WSMN 1590. WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at WSMN.live.
USA Radio News, I'm Anthony Lucero. President Trump says he's not aware of a preliminary report that says the U.S. is at fault in a deadly strike on an Iranian elementary school.
The New York Times story cites U.S. officials and others familiar with the report. Trump was asked about the report while exiting the White House for Ohio and said he didn't know about that. The initial investigation found the strike was due to a targeting mistake by the U.S. military. The military had been targeting an Iranian base adjacent to the school. The Tomahawk missile strike happened at the start of Operation Epic Fury, killing at least 175 people, with most being children. I'm Chris Coraggio.
Iran's soccer team will not participate in this summer's FIFA World Cup.
That's according to the country's sports minister, saying conditions are not suitable for Iran to participate. He told Iranian state media that what's happened in the past few months has shown the conditions do not exist for their national team to play in the tournament. This comes after FIFA President Gianni Infantino said President Trump told him that Iran is welcome to compete in the tournament in the U.S. Iran is set to play New Zealand in its first World Cup match on June 15th in Los Angeles. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Costco is partnering with a New Jersey-based fertility network to offer low-cost care to customers across America.
Assisted reproductive specialists from RMA Network will work with Costco to provide widespread access to fertility services for those who face barriers. Costco says you'll get coordinated care through every step of the process. All it takes is a Costco membership, and you'll get an 80% savings on key fertility drugs. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The U.S. Navy says sailors can wear the uniforms in public, even though the U.S. is at war with Iran.
This fleet-wide advisory was issued Tuesday after some Navy commands apparently told sailors to consider wearing civilian clothes in public. The Navy says that may have been a recommendation, but it is not a directive, and sailors can wear uniforms as they normally do, but they should be aware of surroundings. I'm Bree Tennis.
From America's News Network USA, Radio News.
No matter who we are or where we come from, we all experience difficulties in life.
Military veterans know that sometimes it takes strength and determination to make it through.
Whether it's obvious physical challenges or struggles on the inside, it takes strength to ask for help when you need it.
I knew that I had to get support, not just for me, but for the sake of my wife and kids.
Talking about it has helped me feel more like myself again.
Honestly, it was hard to open up at first, but it's changed my life for the better.
Learn how veterans like us have reached out for help, and hear stories of strength and recovery at MakeTheConnection.net.
More than 300 TSA officers have quit since the partial DHS shutdown began, causing staffing shortages at airports. Workers report delayed pay and low morale, while call-outs spike as spring break travel ramps up. Airlines and travelers are feeling the impact. An Oklahoma family is suing State Farm, alleging the insurer shortchanged them on a homeowner's claim after storm damage and improperly denied costs. The lawsuit says the company misrepresented policy terms and failed to pay what was owed, a claim State Farm denies as the case moves forward. A Washington state man has been sentenced to federal prison for stealing from an elderly widow with dementia.
Federal prosecutors say Richard Radcliffe knew the woman was wealthy and had no surviving relatives. He arranged to be included in her will and got access to her accounts. He used over $500,000 to buy real estate, travel, gamble, and operate his restaurant. She died in 2020, and he tried to claim life insurance pretending to be her dead spouse. Radcliffe was sentenced to more than 2 years in prison and must repay the money with restitution. I'm Brad Ford.
Detroit police arrested a hairstylist accused of pulling a gun on a customer during an argument over money at her home. Video shows the woman yelling profanities and threatening to shoot the customer.
Get the out my house. And it say
No names have been released. For USA Radio News, I'm Anthony Lucero.
Would you know where to turn if you or a loved one became paralyzed? For thousands of families, the National Paralysis Resource Center has been that lifeline. But now federal funding's at risk. Sherman Gillums Jr., a partially paralyzed Marine veteran with the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, explains why.
This is about more than just a budget line. It's about veterans, caregivers, and families, real people who need these resources to live more productive and independent lives.
Learn more at ChristopherReeve.org.
Feeling lucky, Nashua? It's time to win big here at Nashua Bingo, our local hotspot for thrills, chills, great food, and jackpots. Dive into high-stakes bingo action every night with huge payouts and electric energy that keeps the good times rolling. Craving more? Hit up our one-armed bandits. From spinning reels to flashing lights, the excitement never stops. And don't forget your Lucky 7 tickets with large bonuses. Just ask Chantel, who won $20,000, or Mary, who just won $25,000 on our tickets. Nashua, this is your sign. Grab your crew, grab your dabbers, and check out Nashua Bingo, easily located at Exit 2 in Nashua, next to Town Fair Tire. Nashua Bingo, where Nashua wins.
This is Lloyd Curtis, president of the Southern New Hampshire Rescue Mission. We provide the basic needs of hope for those desperate for help. We care for them as Jesus taught us. David was recently evicted and part of a scam that depleted his funds. With our help, he has regained control of his finances and enjoys nightly shelter, a warm shower, and daily meals. Jane is close to obtaining her new apartment after working with Lisa, our case manager. She is getting daily help with safe, secure shelter and encouragement from those who teach Jesus as the way, truth, and life. Because of you, people like David and Jane find hope in the God of rescue. Please consider a gift today as the colder nights set in and we answer daily calls from desperate people for shelter. Visit hope4nashua.org to give online or learn more.
Thank you for listening to WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. The following program has been previously recorded.
Well, good noontime. You're listening to Uncle Don with the Donald Perret Show right here on WSMN 1590 AM and WSMN 95.3 FM. You can stream us at WSMN.live. And I don't know if I ever mentioned to Jonathan and Mike, my new nephews, that they have become my nephews. So I don't think I ever explained that to you. Did I, Jonathan?
No, I don't think I've heard that before.
Okay.
I was actually going to ask how we get that gig, but I guess we did it.
It gets, like George said, it's growing and growing. The reason we call it the Uncle Don Show is that I have 52 nephews and nieces, for real. And I've been called Uncle Don for years. So we decided to call it the Uncle Don Show, and every guest that I have, they're either a brand new niece or a brand new nephew. So welcome to the family. Now, the important thing, and I've been dying to have this session with you, because I am so intrigued with Make It Labs. Make It Labs is something that is so unique, and it kind of like rivals Tom Edison's lab in New Jersey, where they tinker and make things, and they cause dreams to become a reality in many, many cases. So I'm going to ask Mike to explain what they do. What is the mission behind Make It Labs?
So the mission of Make It Labs is to create a space where community can form and where we have all the tools and toys that people can use to make things from their experience, from their ideas.
Mm-hmm. Now, how large is the facility?
You get the facts on that? I think it's 5,000 square feet or...
No, a lot more than that, I think.
More?
I forget the number.
Yeah.
Uncle, what's the
square
footage?
I'm glad you're a good nephew. 20,000 square feet.
20,000 sounds
right. It
right.
is big.
Yeah.
I mean, even the parking lot's about the same size. It's huge.
And we're busting at the seams.
You are, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we started off occupying the garage and the clean space, which was the front door of the Andersons cabinet area, and then parts of the brick building. And the upstairs was unoccupiable. It was infested with raccoons and squirrels when we moved in. And the downstairs had a river running through it, so we couldn't use that very well.
And where is this located? Where is the building?
It's on Crown Street, just on the road towards Hudson.
Yeah.
And so one of the first projects that the team took on as we entered the building was actually making the building suitable for occupancy.
Right.
And so a lot of work's been done, and we've actually expanded to include a textile area, so we have a lot of sewing machines and looms and
now that's fascinating
issues like
because
that.
When I've gone there 2-3 times and I never noticed the sewing machines. Some of them are commercial sewing machines.
Yep.
So you have regular sewing machines and commercial type.
Yeah, and a computerized embroidery machine, and so they've added a dye sublimation printer, which allows you to print on arbitrary images on polyester, so you can make custom T-shirts and such.
So the sewing machines that are commercial, you could sew fabrics such as leather or vinyl.
Yeah, you can do leather, heavier fabrics.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing we want to do because not everybody's going to have that kind of machine at home.
Yeah.
But we have one that, people can come in and use. You may have a little machine at home, but nobody's going to have a, $10,000 machine.
Right.
Or a $20,000 embroidery machine.
So those, now this is a nonprofit, correct?
Yes, it is a registered nonprofit.
Okay. And you have a board of directors?
Yes, there's 9 board members.
Okay. And I've looked at the background of some of them, quite interesting. And I like the one that gives the background of Mark. Mark's last name is?
Hebert.
Hebert. So there's a small paragraph about Mark, and then at the very end it says, and he has a 6'8" high schooler. And I found that fascinating for someone to put that into their profile. Very interesting. So it's a good board of directors. They meet on a regular basis, Mike?
Yeah, it's a monthly meeting. Yep.
Okay. So the material that you have there, explain to the audience how Make It Labs works. If you were giving a tour, what would you tell a person who's interested in joining Make It Labs?
Basically, the story. We do give tours every Thursday night from 6 to 9. We have open house, and one of the things that the members like to do is they go to open house and they give tours. They walk around with people. The first thing I say is, what are you interested in, and guide them in that direction. But basically, anything you're interested in, you'll find there. We have an auto shop, machine shop, metal shop, wood shop, laser cutters, 3D printers. We have a ceramic studio. We have a jewelry making studio. We have glass working. We have 2 kilns. We just put in putting in now a dark room so we can do chemical photography developing. We have the electronics studio where John is the resource manager, where you can tinker with all the electronics. We have a parts area. So basically, it's all laid out We have resource managers that to help you get involved in whatever you're interested in.
Yeah.
And we also offer classes on areas of areas, including some classes which are required for the machinery that might be dangerous to operate.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, Jonathan, you're what's the title that he just gave you?
Resource manager.
Resource manager.
So again, there's no employees. Everybody's a volunteer.
That's what I was going to say. This is made up of volunteers, and you have a title. Son of a gun.
Well, yeah, it's kind of loosely arranged where the board of directors make the big decisions. The resource managers may have a certain area, like I do computers, electronics area.
Yeah.
Somebody else may do the wood shop or whatever. And there's usually a group of people that do it, but there's usually one person that's point of contact.
Yeah.
And to add to what Mike was saying, our business model and usually what we tell people, trying to describe the place is it's kind of like a gym club for nerds. You pay a monthly membership, you get 24/7 access.
I believe that because that's what I thought when I first met you guys 8 years ago. So
yeah, you can get access anytime you want. You pay a monthly membership. Some people sign up just to change their oil once a month or something. Other people are more involved in social activities, group activities, or just using the various tools.
Now, I remember one year, probably 4 years ago, you had made a lobster vehicle.
We didn't make the lobster. That was lobster roll. So down in Lowell, they've had this race called the Lowell Kinetic Sculpture Race every September, where you have to create an art project that is human-powered, has to go 5 miles around Lowell, has to go 100 feet through mud, and about 200 yards down the Merrimack River, all under human power. And you need a team and costumes and themes and all that.
Yeah.
So we've been participating in that for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
Probably, I think we started in the third year they were doing it. So one of their iconic vehicles was the lobster roll, which is the one you probably saw last year.
Yes.
So that was their iconic one. So they came up to our Make It Fest.
You must have had at least a couple of pedals for the
so lobster roll had 3 pilots.
Right.
Our current device, the Illuminati, because it's all made out of aluminum, that one has 4 independent 4-wheel drive, 4 pilots. Everybody pedals their own wheel.
Yeah.
Before that, we had a similar one, which got rebranded several times. It was mostly steel. That was Fruit Roll Up, Mantis, and Buggy. And we've now given that to people down in, I think the Lawrence Boys and Girls Club took that one on.
Yeah.
So they own it now. We're on to the bigger and better things.
Yeah.
But that's been a big group project. It's been one of the most successful group projects because it gets all these people involved in building these things. And the fun part is that all of the people doing most of this mechanical stuff are mostly computer electrical engineers, not the mechanical people.
Right.
But again, you get to wear a lot of different hats. You get to learn a lot of different skills.
Now, you're a volunteer.
Everybody is.
And so what kind of work do you do as a regular job?
My day job is almost the same thing as what I do there.
Really?
I do firmware, electronics, IT for a small company that makes 3D printers in the jewelry industry. Makes wax printers.
3D printing is done at Make It Labs?
Yes, of course. You wouldn't be a makerspace if you didn't have 3D printing. So we have some really nice new bamboo printers. People who know 3D printers would recognize that one. We also have some resin printers. At different times, we've had different kinds of printers. But yeah, we have pretty much state-of-the-art. We're pretty good financially, so we've been able to get some good equipment.
Yeah, it's important to keep your head above water. When I met you through John Burkett because he had clinics for bicycles, which eventually turned out to be Gate City Bike Co-op, where John and I talked about the fact that he needed a location. He didn't use Make It Labs, but a couple of the people that were there were involved with Make It Labs, like Bill Foss was. And he didn't come on the very first week, but I think he came on within a year of Gate City Bike Co-op starting.
I think once Gate City started, I think I got him involved.
Yeah, because he was at Make It Labs, and then he came over with you. And now, who the heck was there? There was Bill Foss, there was you, Max Joyle, but Max never worked at Make It Labs, although...
No, he'll show up once in a while for a party or something.
Right.
But, yeah, he's been Bike Co-op and working with Foss on some things.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Bike Co-op. When the Bike Co-op started 8 years ago, and John and I figured to get these bicycles in the hands of people who can't afford transportation, we'd have to take bikes in that people donate to us. Then we have volunteers who put them back in good shape. So it's been able to work extremely well. So we've given out over 3,000 bikes in the past 8 years. And any excess bikes that we have gone to Kenya, Haiti, and different locations in New Hampshire as well, to other locations. So he had many guys coming from Make It Labs that were able to take bikes that were 40 years old and find parts from a 10-year-old bike or a 15-year-old bike and make like a Franken bike out of it. So a lot of the bikes were Franken bikes. You had Schwinn, Columbia, Giant, Trek. So the bike itself was well constructed by the time we finished with it. But it was, you can't call it a Columbia anymore or a Schwinn. So it was amazing to see the people, especially from Make It Labs, because I get the impression that ego goes out the window. Somebody always helps somebody else. And so whenever I observed the mechanics working on the bike, you never saw one showing off their talent of figuring out a problem. If there was a problem, I don't care. John Burkett was a certified bike mechanic, but he always accepted someone's critique or advice on certain bikes, and it worked out well. So that the atmosphere at the Gate City Bike Co-op, I think, is similar to Make It Labs as far as that is concerned.
I think it's similar. People are very generous with their time and helping others.
Yeah, because you have volunteers who end up helping others who are either brand new or they don't have the knowledge of whatever they want to work on. So is that how it works?
I mean, not specifically, but yeah, the community we develop, and most of the members, again, are willing to help other people.
Yeah.
If you ask for help, like, who can help me do this, it may be hard, but if you're in there doing something and you ask somebody, they're very good at, helping out and getting people started, getting people going the right direction, telling people what they did wrong, which always happens, even if they're not the one doing it. But
that's my part. I could always do something wrong, and John would correct me, but he did it in a very gentle way.
Oh yeah, no, John was great. I learned a lot from him.
Yeah, and he learned a lot from other people. He was there was a Mike. There was a 15-year-old kid from Africa. Mm-hmm. He had never seen a bike because he was born in a refugee camp in Rwanda. And when he came to the shop because of John. He belonged to the Boys and Girls Club. And John was going there to show the kids how to fix their bikes, and he would fix the bikes that they couldn't fix. And so this one kid, his name is Foston, kind of like, he grew to like the association with John. So his first sight of a bike was when he came to the United States. And at the time, I think he was about 11 or 12. What a good kid. And so he would come at least a couple of times a week. And like I said, there was no ego to speak of. Everybody helped each other to the point where Foster was so good, by the time he was 16, he got a job at Goodale's Bike because he was, one, reliable, and he wanted to learn, and he just wanted to be part of the community. So it's interesting how that worked out. Now, Mike's story is pretty neat because prior to coming here or going to Make It Labs, you worked at Verizon, correct?
Correct, yep.
And how long were you there?
About 25 years, actually.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so it was an actual career.
Yeah.
The fun thing about the work at Verizon was that it basically was the underlying network that everybody used to do all their interneting activities.
Mm-hmm.
And my interest was basically finding the ways to make that thing work the way it needed to do.
Now, one of the things that is done at Make It Labs is welding. So how does that work? Do you have somebody who specializes in welding, or?
Yeah, we have several skilled volunteers that, again, will run classes about every month, maybe every other month.
Yeah.
They're usually about $70. You get consumables. You're not going to be a certified welder when you walk out of there, but you're going to know how to stick metal together,
right,
not hurt yourself with a machine.
I always found that fascinating because, I don't know, it's because I'm color deficient or colorblind, but I could never tell what the metal was that they're welding. And of course, welding aluminum as opposed to steel requires a certain
it's very different skills.
So what is the difference, just as a small example, when you're welding one product?
Well, steel's relatively easy, and you can take the class and you can start putting steel together very easy. Aluminum, you use what's called TIG welding, which use a titanium rod to make the arc, and then you have a filler rod in your other hand, and you're controlling it with your feet. You're definitely chewing gum and walking at the same time.
All right.
Whereas MIG welding, which is what you normally use with steel, you just have this gun and you push a button. You got to hold the right distance and move the right way, but it just spits out and works.
Right. Now, Make It Labs got started in Lowell.
Originally, it was started in Lowell by a few guys. Originally, it was somebody's college project at WPI, where the idea of a makerspace was brand new back then. I don't think very few existed, and he did his basically project relating technology to society on making a makerspace. And then after he got out, he actually made the makerspace.
Okay. And then you must have spent about 2 years in Lowell, then moved to Nashua.
Yep.
And from what I understand, is the largest lab of its type in New Hampshire. Is that correct?
Yeah, we say the first and largest.
The first and largest.
Yep.
Okay. And like you said before, it's on Crown. Is it Crown Avenue or Crown?
Crown Street.
Crown Street.
Yeah, 25 Crown.
Okay. And people can go there to view and get a tour on a regular basis, or is it?
Sure, every Thursday, 6 to 9, open house.
That's open house every Thursday.
Just walk right in and say hi.
Otherwise, if you want to join and become a member, there are different, how would you say it, different qualifications. There's, one of them is the hobbyist level. One is pro, P-R-O. The other one is pro partner. And then there's military pro. Now, could you explain the membership for the hobbyist is $50 a month. Now, what do they get for that $50 a month?
So at the hobby level, $50 a month. We've never raised our prices. You get 24/7 access to the place, and you can do everything.
24/7.
Yep. You get a little RFID thing on your keychain, and you can get in.
Wow.
So there's people doing midnight auto. There's people doing, things at night. People first thing in the morning. People working their job out of there. So there's all kinds of things happening. At pro level, I think is $65.
Right.
That's the same thing as hobby, except you get a tote box you can keep in there.
Oh.
So you can keep, normally you can't leave stuff, because if we had 400 people leaving stuff everywhere,
it would be a mess.
It would be even worse than it is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you get a box where you can keep your supplies or your, protective equipment or whatever.
Yeah.
You can also rent extra space. There's space in the garage if you're working on a car that you need to leave overnight or for a week or something, changing an engine or something like that. You can rent a plot by the week, and you need to be a pro member for that. Also, there's some offices. You can rent office space.
Oh, my.
Either like a small cube, open cube, or there's some with doors on them.
Yeah.
Very reasonable, but again, you have to be a member, and they try to get people who are more involved in the space.
And you get to use the equipment.
And you have the space
tools.
equipment. There's been several companies that have kind of launched out of there. They'll rent an office. They'll have their employees be members.
Really?
They'll hire other members to be their employees.
Oh, my. So it saves them a bunch of money for
Yeah, it's kind of the
estate.
incubator idea. So you have this place where small companies can like incubate very inexpensively and then move out.
Fascinating. Yeah. There was, I wanted to make sure that I was going to mention that the month of March has a special meanings for many things. One of them is that it's a women's month, celebrating women's work in society in every aspect. But it's also a celebration of the Thomas Edison lab that he started in New Jersey. And it was a lab where you couldn't join. It wasn't a nonprofit. It was a for-profit. And he would hire people to work in his labs, and they would, his saying, and I'm going to quote it loosely, was the working on something, creating something, requires 1% of genius and 99% of perspiration. In other words, trial and error, until finally something worked. So that was his philosophy. He worked. He didn't like sleep. He slept 4 or 5 hours a night. That was it. And to talk about being a workaholic. But he got quite a bit accomplished. And I'm going to mention one more thing before we go back to the Make It Labs. He taught his wife, and I can't remember if it was his first wife or his second wife, taught her Morse code. And they would talk to each other in Morse code by tapping on the shoulder or on the hands. And he proposed to her by tapping Morse code on her hand. And she responded in Morse code, yes. Now, where did that take place? I found out yesterday, it took place in New Hampshire.
Really?
They were up in the White Mountains vacationing, and that's where he proposed to her by using Morse code. So it's quite an inventive guy. I think he would have fit right in at Make It Labs. Yeah. So, Mike, the other things that you get involved with at the shop, do you have a title as well? Or?
No, I'm basically just a behind the scenes, whatever needs to get done. I think twice a year now we run a Make It Better Day, and so that's a day where you go in and you see what needs to get fixed and you fix it up. One of the things that I was interested in was the alarm system, and so I got a a kit that allowed us to connect to the alarm system and get that hooked up to our computer network.
Mm-hmm.
That would made it so that we could send alarms to our Slack channel. Slack is a communication system we use within the labs. And so basically getting that all hooked together, and then led to being sort of interested also in making sure that all the doors were properly alarmed and things like that. Mm-hmm. So basically, when you see an issue with the labs, it's a duocracy. You see a problem, you step up, and you make it better. So that's how I got dubbed as the resource for the alarm system.
You know, when we met a little while ago before we started the program, I could not find my list of board of directors. And I thought, I must have forgotten it home. I've got it in front of me. So one of them is Brad Goodman.
He's a recent one. Yep.
And his quote of that I read about was, he fails fast and often. That apparently is a Thomas Edison type of person.
Yep.
Making mistakes, keep going, keep going, keep going. Then there's Tyler Haxlett,
I think, yeah.
Haxlett, he's an engineer. And Bill Schronger, he's the president.
He's the president. He's been president now for 4, 5, 6 years.
Okay. We've got to say his name, otherwise we're in trouble. There was Nat Fairbanks. He's the vice president, and he has a couple of sons himself. Then there's Peter Vatney.
Peter Vatney's the treasurer.
The treasurer. He's involved with learning things, learning programs. Jennifer Cody is the secretary. Now her background is being a real estate agent or appraiser, and she has 2 sons herself.
She also runs the ceramics area and gives classes for pottery.
Oh, talk about that, because there are sewing classes and there's a pottery that I didn't know about.
Yeah, so we do have a couple of kilns. I haven't done it myself, so I'm not sure all the technical terms, but they've got a couple wheels, whatever the machine is that flattens it out before you start using it, the clay.
Yeah.
So yeah, they run classes every couple of months. It's been a good couples class, I guess. People will, boyfriend, girlfriend will take it together. That's one of the, many let's say, nerdy technical things. So there's a lot of artistic things going on. We do have the textiles area. There's a monthly Stitch and Bitch meetup.
Stitch and Bitch.
They used to. It's kind of a social thing, but
you talk about things that
people are knitting. It was just a funny name to get together.
Good.
We also have the kind of lost my train of thought here. But yeah, a lot of different things going on outside of just like computers, electronics, 3D printing, which is kind of the backbone traditional way makerspaces started.
Okay.
So one thing I'd throw in there is all these classes are all put on Eventbrite. So if you want to find out what sort of things are available at the Make It Labs, you go to the Eventbrite, and there's lists of all the different activities that you can sign up for. Some you need to be a member for, and some are open to the public.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think most of the classes are open. Some of the internal trainings, there's no reason to take the internal training on how to use a piece of equipment if you're not a member.
I guess the important thing is go there and introduce yourself and talk about what you're interested in and see where the person would fit in to your organization.
Oh, they fit themselves in.
Yeah.
It's all volunteer and people do what they want. It's like Mike said, it's a duocracy.
Okay. So we're going to, right now, for those who are just tuning in, you're listening to Uncle Don and the Donald Perret Show right here on WSMN 1590 AM and WSMN 95.3 FM. You can stream us at WSMN Live. Now, A few other things that I want to bring to the attention of the audience is that the month of March is also the month for the Peace Corps that gets started in 1961. This is something that's dear to my heart because that started when I was about 16, 17 years old with John F. Kennedy. And at that early age, I would have wanted to have been in the Peace Corps, but you needed some education. They just can't send out a 17-year-old to go into another country. You know, the only thing I knew was rock and roll and how to listen to it. What am I going to teach somebody in Guyana or, you know, San Domingo? So but at the same time, I saw it as something that was going to be lasting. And sure enough, it's still going relatively strong. It gets started off by Kennedy. His brother-in-law, Sergeant Shriver, is the one that managed it for the first few years. It's also the 150th anniversary of the very first phone call by Thomas Edison. And Mike, you knew exactly what I was talking about. What happened? To explain.
So the story goes that he was working in one part of the building, and his assistant was 1 or 2 floors distant and across the building.
Yeah.
And so he was working with some chemicals, and because they were trying to improve the audio quality of the transmission.
Right.
The telephone basically was what they're working on eventually. And he spilled some acid on himself, and he quickly yelled, "Watson, come here, I need you." And apparently in that other room, floors and yards away, he was heard clearly by his assistant, and his assistant got there quickly.
Good.
So that was, I guess, the first phone call.
Yeah. There was somebody had said a joke years ago that the bathtub became popular around 1845, something like that. And the telephone was invented in 1876. So that meant for the only time in history, there was a 25-year period where you could go to the bathtub, have a bath, and not be disturbed by a phone call. So that gives you an idea of how you can get your history together. So Thomas Edison had this lab. He started it, put his money into it, hired people, and one of the things that he was famous for was the improvement on the light bulb. So one of the funny things that I read about was that his first wife complained at one time that you invented the light bulb. People have light bulbs in their homes. We still have gas lights in our home. He never got around to it. It's like being a painter and not painting your house. So that was one of her complaints about Tom. He worked so much he forgot that he had his responsibilities at home. And I guess that happens. So and one of the things that I find intriguing at Make It Labs, it is like a community. And you have a break room.
Well, there's a kitchen. It's where people there. There's also kind of a hangout area upstairs and one downstairs.
Yeah.
You know, with a couch or something, and some small conference rooms that people can do their work in, or small meetings can reserve, even community meetings.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to do something in your community and you need a place, you know, members can basically reserve a room.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to mention the other board members because I didn't.
Yep.
And there are a few more. One of them is, I'm going to ruin his name, Mordecai Veltz.
Mm-hmm.
Mordecai Veltz. He enjoys being a cook, and he's an engineer. Then there's Mark Hubert, we talked about him. He was the president of Microelectronics, which is they dabble in medical senses. Mike, you were saying, do you think he sold the company?
He, as JV has more up to date on that, he sold his building, and it was going to completely retire, but I guess he's got some customers that won't let him go.
That's right. Jonathan mentioned the fact that one of his clients or customers is in Japan.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, so he makes these specialized sensors for measuring ions or something, and some of his customers, they can't get it anywhere else. So there's still a few customers. He's willing to kind of keep it going on a small scale, but he's not, that he's basically retired now.
Yeah,
and spends a lot of time at the labs. He's one of the more active members that's really there in charge in a lot of cases.
Now, his name to fame is the fact that he has a high school boy who's 6'8", and I guess he's very proud of that. So, good for you, and Mark Hubert in French. So, the open house is every Thursday from 6 to 9. I got that. And do you have the telephone number on how you get in touch?
It should be on the website, but
nobody uses phones anymore.
Nobody uses phones. It goes to voicemail, and somebody will eventually look at it.
No, you come from Verizon.
Yeah. So the fact that there are no employees, nobody actually carries a phone for Make It Labs.
Yeah.
So you can send email to the board at Make It Labs, and that's the best way to contact.
Or info at Make It Labs.
Or info at Make It Labs, which annoys more people.
Yeah.
And the next best way is to show up on Thursdays.
Yeah.
6 to 9.
Now, how do you do 3D printing? What's involved? What do you have to know?
So you have to have something you want to make, and you have to build a computer file that describes what you're making. It's a sphere. It has a notch cut out of it. It's 3 inches in diameter, and you get a computer. There's several computer programs you can use to build that model.
Uh-huh.
So then you take that model and send it to something called a slicer, and that slicer takes that model and breaks it up into instructions for the 3D printer to create it.
Right.
And basically the 3D printer moves back and forth and puts filament down in places, and then the whole thing moves down and it puts another layer. So it basically builds layer by layer the 3D object that you want to create.
Okay, Mike, I don't know how you're going to do this, but when you came in with a bag.
Yes.
And you were going to have a show and tell on radio.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know how you're going to do it.
I have no idea. What's the best? I have these 3D printed gadgets. So this is basically a flat visor that we made during the pandemic. And it was designed to hold a piece of PETG plastic in front of your face. So it protected you from contaminants. And basically they created the design, and we adapted it for use by medical professionals or people that were seeing sick people.
Now, I'm a retired respiratory therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and you showed me something earlier before the program began that was modified to protect emergency work personnel,
right?
ICU. What was that involved?
So So again, more things to look at. You can look at the cameras, folks. These were sheets of PETG plastic, and I can show you an example of one of those. So this was cut on our laser cutter.
Right.
Coca-Cola company donated rolls and rolls of PETG. Of that stuff, yeah.
This is expensive.
A literal truckload. 800-pound rolls, dozens of them.
These are expensive.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
they donated that. We actually turned into like a distribution center where we would put it onto smaller rolls. Other maker spaces and businesses during lockdown would also make these and give them out to their community.
Yeah. How did you guys do with COVID?
Yeah, I mean, financially we were fine. Most people didn't cancel their membership.
Yeah.
We had projects like this where we would come in and, actually doing COVID-related things where we would make a lot of this stuff, and like we gave some to the local hospital, I think Southern New Hampshire.
Good.
So we would give all the parts, and they did the actual assembly, one of their volunteer groups.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we came through it pretty good because again, people stuck with us, and financially we did fine. Not many people canceled.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt Mike too much.
Oh,
we derailed that.
So one of the things that John did, I think it was you, you put up a infrared camera to try to make sure that people that were coming in weren't having a fever.
Yeah, originally,
really?
There was a
I like that.
requirement, or we thought there was going to be a requirement, where you needed traceability for people that came into your business or building or whatever.
Yeah.
So it could have just been a piece of paper, but us being nerds and people stuck at home, we said, make this kiosk, because we have our little RFID things. So it would come in, had a little foot switch, yes or no, do you, have you read our rules or whatever. But yeah, it had an infrared camera to look for fever, and it had a visible camera with some computer vision that would look for a mask or not. And it would tell you if you had a mask or not.
Working at a hospital, one of the things that used to get me so upset, if I felt sick, and being a respiratory therapist, I'm dealing with people who have some weaknesses, and they can't afford to get even a cold. A cold to them is terrible. So I would make sure, and my wife would remind me, if I wasn't feeling good, I wouldn't go in.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, many people that worked in the hospital, whether at almost any level, whether they're housekeeping or dietary or an aide or a nurse or a doctor, will come in, and they're coughing, they don't look good, and it isn't right. So I always was hoping there would be some item that could check the individual out. I don't know how they would scan the whole body and say, reject, go back.
Well, you could scan for
home.
fevers. I mean, that's nothing new, the little electronic things.
Yeah.
This one just used a camera and some vision. I don't think we actually got the fever detection down, but we did have the cameras and we're looking at it. And like I say, it was a project we were doing because it was kind of fun to do.
Yeah. Because unfortunately, a low-paying job. I had a friend of mine just caught a cold. Well, you think he caught a cold. He has a virus or bacteria, and he's on 2 different antibiotics. And I saw him yesterday, and he said he's getting better. And he said he thinks he got it at a restaurant, or I'm not sure what kind it was, but he noticed that the waiter or waitress had been sneezing. So is it possible? And that's not a high-paying job to work.
Right, they probably can't afford not to work, so they come in sick.
Exactly. I feel bad for them because they have to go in. And otherwise they'd lose their money. They could lose their job. It wouldn't look good. Do you call in and say, I'm going to be out of work for 2 or 3 days? You can't do that. So I'm hoping one day that you'll be able to do a scan on an individual. When I first started in respiratory, we used to have to stick the artery to get the oxygen level of the patient, and it took a while. It would take another 15 minutes to get the results of what the oxygen saturation is. So finally, they came out with